It's been over 10 years since I spoke to a slightly larger crowd. When I was running for president, I had a little less gray hair then. I've been back to Germany, I think at least 10 times. I've been to Europe countless times. I'm as excited to be here with you as I have been ever when I've come to Europe. I'm here to begin the work of the Obama Foundation. When I left office, or maybe a few months before I left office, I had to make some decisions about what I would do after the end of my presidency. And I knew that I wanted to catch up on my sleep. I had to take Michelle on vacation. I was one of the youngest presidents to be elected, which meant I was one of the youngest ex-presidents. And I asked myself, all right, what's the next thing that I can do to make the biggest impact? And there were a whole range of issues that I care deeply about. I believe climate change is an existential challenge for all of humanity. I believe that creating communities of tolerance and respect despite our ethnic and religious differences, is vital. I believe deeply in gender equality. I believe deeply in dealing with the growing inequality. Issues I was concerned about and that I intended to work on. I was also convinced of was that probably the biggest impact I could have, there's only one of me. And I can sit back and relax a little bit. And I know there's a whole lot of work to be done. What makes me optimistic, you just heard, I believe, who I had originally met with. I could not have been more impressed. I met earlier today. I hope, now I'm not here to support any political party. I've held my last political office. Michelle would leave me if I ever ran for office again. But I'm deeply invested. Michelle and I talk sometimes. I'm assuming, I always used to say that I think you can. I'm going to start taking some questions. So actually, I believe that my first question may be an online question, but I'm not sure. But it's from Conleth in Northern Ireland. Am I correct about that? I saw a group of you right before I came out, and somebody, I think, asked a question that relates to this. One of the challenges that I had when I was a young organizer, I wanted change now. I wanted 100% of what I wanted. I'd suddenly I'd be furious and frustrated. I was elected to office, and some young organizer would come into my office and say, I want you to do this. And I'd say, well, I can give you a little bit of this, but so I've been on both sides, because I think that we all have. When I passed the Paris, or when I helped get the Paris Agreement on climate accomplished, I was the first one to say, but if I had held out, and my theory was I can get every country on earth, or at least I think at that time there were maybe one or two countries that didn't sign up. Now it turns out it's only mine. If I can get that in place, then I'll be able to turn up those standards in my own country, in the United States. I'd like to say, today, I'd have to say, no, I'm sorry, we can't pass that. I'm not going to abide by that. I know from experience in passing the health care law that I had to work on in the United States, that was not the ideal health care program that I wanted to set up. It's what I could get at the time. That's what I'm going to do now. And then I'll fight some more later. What's true for me when I was a president or an elected official, it's going to be true for you as well, even within your own organizations. I do worry about sometimes, I think you should know in advance that I will not get to every person. So forgive me for that, all right? But I'm just going to try to get as many people as I can. I'll start with you. Give me an idea. Oftentimes, the participants, including my own country, operated hypocritically. As president, I was very clear. I think when there's backsliding, I would also say though. So I think it's important. Yeah, I'm looking at you. Yeah, that's right. So I am going to establish a rule of just one question. My home country. The first thing I would say is that You probably have some better answers than I do. I should be asking you. I'll make some general observations, though. You know, my father's from Kenya. And the reason I say that is because I worry sometimes, and I don't have, simple solutions to all of that. But I guess what I think we have to do, first of all, I want to congratulate you. The second thing I want to say is, I can publicize, hey, here's a great example. But I'm not the only one that can help, where I'm assuming I can't wait. But I shouldn't talk with my mouth full. I'm just canvassing. Don't worry, I know that I see some people in the back. And I'll get to you. Yeah. Well, I definitely think that there's some politicians who could use some meditation. There's no doubt about that. I can think of a few who, just sit there for a little bit and... Let me broaden the question a little bit. I will tell you that I don't have a regular meditation practice, but I have my own tools, I guess, to take me to a certain place. When I was your age, I did a lot of writing. If I was writing well, it would take me out of myself, right? You become ego-less a little bit. I would broaden the point. What advice would I give myself when I was a young organizer? I think sometimes we are so driven, even as president. I was a pretty busy guy, I gotta say. But I worked out every morning. I was pretty religious about it. I was in the gym. You had to block out that time in the morning when I was going to be working out. And if I did not have a workout, I was going to be cranky. But I knew that if I was going to be able to sustain the pace I was sustaining over the course of 8 years, I needed to have at least that. And the same, I did the same thing. My staff knew that I would eat dinner with my children at 6:30, with my wife and children at 6:30 every night. Or I was traveling. I was at the dinner table. And then, I'd work until 2 in the morning. I promised that I would turn this way. First, I'll answer sort of the personal question, how do I deal with it? I did not read about myself. I did not watch TV about myself. Whatever the news was saying about me, I already knew. Whatever the topic was, I was there. They couldn't give me actual information that I didn't know. The most they could do is provide me with an opinion. It almost didn't matter what I was doing. So for me, and I was fortunate enough that I had a staff. So I said, well, you watch it. And then you tell me. I recognize that. But I do think at least, and by the way, I'm not saying something, that general point I would make. I do not believe that there's an effective way to censor, because I do believe that and I'm always trying to figure out by talking to my daughters, if I know you won't listen to me more than 10 minutes, but I'm only half joking on that one. She has a different relationship with the phone and how she gets information than I do. I have one, but I don't live in it the same way she does. Okay, I don't think I've gotten this side, so I think this side needs a little attention. Yes, I called on you. I see. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Look, I do believe that you can become an activist. I already spoke about it. You vote. I always tell a story. The first week that I became president, I was in a meeting with the Secretary of Defense, and I said, I'm the new young president. And I say, what advice do you have for me in terms of what I should expect? And I will say, by the way, when I used to come over for meetings, I'd be like, didn't I just meet with them? I understand, but the point I'm making is, I think, and that, I think, is, no. Well, you know what? I'll call on you just so you don't feel depressed, but this young lady I called on first. Yes, I think it's fair. I didn't even see you having your hand up. I'm not sure that's how it actually works, but that's okay. I think what I used to call the world as it is. Our task at least I view my task, as being, how do I navigate between the world as it is and the world as it should be and I'd like it to be. I have to keep one foot in reality, even as I'm imagining something better, what I consider to be possible. I'm not a philosopher. I'm not a theoretician, and I respect that. I want thinkers like that who are out there, but in the meantime, I'm here. I do have constraints. I have to continually guard against if I was bolder. But the one thing I would caution about is thinking that, because I saw everybody doing this thing, the one thing I would caution about, but I would say that, I tell you, I'd like to see improvements. And I know you don't necessarily disagree with this. My only point is, I think, I promised that I would call on that gentleman. You know, I think it's really important. So it's something that I think is very much, even though I said last question, I always take one extra one. Well, I tell you what, I want to hear more about the work you're doing. I recognize that, you know, yeah, okay, I want to hear Obama's advice and ideas, blah, 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 but, you know, what I really could use is a check. I've been there. No, I get it. You know, what I will commit to all of you, I don't even have to necessarily be an intermediary, because I've been on the other side trying to raise money. And I truly believe that. My belief is